Tim Beveridge on NewstalkZB.
NewstalkZB, right. Bill, hello.
Tim, good day. Look, I only turned on the radio as Stuart was finishing his chat because I'd been watching free-to-air TV, but I was lucky to hear OJ, who I always enjoy talking to you and speaking. And
well, I dumped him today.
I heard that, but you should have just done a beep beep type of thing.
No, I can't time it. I can't time the beep beeps.
Oh, okay.
No, it's because it's an 8-second delay. The way it works is that everything we're saying now goes out on air 8 seconds later. And
right.
You can't have an 8-second beep. That would be terrible for people to listen to, and I can't predict. It's just, if I don't dump people
you never do.
willy-nilly.
Very good.
So, yeah, it's just the sort of rhetoric he was engaging with, and I thought, okay, well, we're just not going to.
No, that's... but, look, can you tell me so I can play in my morning social diary if OJ has rung up for his morning chat with you?
Sorry?
OJ, Oxford John.
Oh, what am I supposed to do, sorry?
Oh, is Oxford John rung up?
No, he hasn't yet.
About his morning chat with you. Oh, that's good. I haven't missed him then. That's good. I'll leave the radio on all night. That's good.
Wow, that's some draw card. Don't want to let him hear them say that. He'll get an inflated opinion of.
He's right up at the top now among my favourite listeners. Now, I was talking to Bruce.
Who's your favourite caller?
Well,
apart from you.
David of Wellington used to be, and I still enjoy Gloria. David doesn't ring up so much, but then Owen came on, from Dunedin, and I've always liked Owen, and then Oxford John from the Isle of Man, came on. And,
who we haven't heard from for a while? I haven't heard from Bob. I haven't heard from Bob from Christchurch for a while.
I haven't heard from him for weeks, and now I like him because other callers with less patience used to ring up and criticise him for talking too much, and then he rang up one time and complained about that he wasn't getting enough time on air as I was.
Oh well. Anyway, we better get on with the topics of the day now that you've raised it.
Yeah, and Julie from Christchurch, please call. I haven't heard from her for ages. Now, I said to Bruce the other day, I mentioned a couple of names, of people, ex-journalists, to take the place of Larry, but I didn't put you in for some reason because you weren't an ex-journalist, but I think because of your fairness to everyone and intelligence directness that you should throw your hat in the middle for that 4 to 7 job.
I don't think they see me in that type of role. I think there's a couple of other things they might see me for, but they don't see me as in that slot.
Well, I look at that as the top role. Most people I know, I'll say intelligent people I know, listen to that much more than they do the morning show between 6 and 9 because they've got the television programs on at the same time, and their wives always seem to like to listen to the music stations. But, however, look, back to the transport. The day before yesterday, I stood in Lower Hutt for half an hour in the hot sun because the seats were taken at the bus stop, and then because of the erratic schedules of the buses, then because the bus was packed, a couple of women and me had to stand in the bus till we got to our destination. Now, this has sort of only been happening in the last couple of months, this badge. It's taken over from Wellington, which has got shocking, and so on. Our transport in Wellington in the Hutt years ago was the best in New Zealand, and it's just gone absolutely downhill. I've approached mayors and regional council chairmen and politicians about it. Everyone passes the buck. and tells me to ring someone else, etc. And I've just had a gutsful because I've always pushed public transport and tried to get gold card owner drivers, into the buses and things like that, but we're just getting no help from bureaucrats running services and so on. Now, one of the guys who was head of the railways in Wellington told me years ago, he said, look, public transport is a service. If we could make our costs and so on, that's excellent, but it was set up right from the beginning to make a loss. Buses and
were they?
Trains and things like that. Yeah, this is what he told me. This guy was one of the heads in New Zealand of the railways, and he'd been there all his life. And politics or local body politics, and say, hey, look, we've got to make money. We've got all our rich friends on our backs trying to get us to reduce it and so on. So progressively, it's got worse over the years. And old people aren't travelling by free transport because it's so erratic. They don't want to.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the thing. We've got people who are telling us. I think the motor vehicle seems to be under assault in the media and from bureaucrats. But the fact is, in New Zealand, the way we are geographically and with the population we've got and the absence of real quality public transport, it's the way people choose to get around. And I get sick of people, bureaucrats, trying to design our lives as if we have London's public transport system, or as if we have New York's or Melbourne's public transport system or Sydney. We've got Auckland, and you're from Wellington. You've got, in fact, Wellington's probably way better than Auckland, and I'm sure that Wellington aren't happy with their service.
Oh, they moan, plenty of moaning on the talkback shows down here. But it's, in fact, some years ago, I spoke to Danny Watson, who's originally from Tidai Bay, about the transport in Wellington. I said, look, why don't they reduce the fares further out you live? Like, for instance, if you live at Pukerua Bay or Upper Hutt, etc., you get quite different or cheaper fares than people who live local and can't be bothered walking to work or things like that, to get the make it cheaper to attract people out of town. So, for instance,
that does seem a little unfair to those who catch a shorter bus ride. They'd pay more, though. I mean, I know your point, but.
Students and people who waste their time by having to live out of town because they can't afford to live in town should be perhaps rewarded with cheaper transport costs. Anyway.
Hey, by the way, when you said Tidai Bay, is that a sort of an old school pronunciation for Te Tahi Bay, or?
Look, it was always
okay.
I
was just checking.
It's like Paraparam. They changed to Paraparam Urumu about 15 years ago, but it's Paraparam too. And Taupo's Taupo to me too. Now, do you want me to quickly mention the census? Give it a
very quickly, because okay. I've got to go to break in a sec.
Well, okay, I'm very proud to call myself 1 in 7, and I know I've got a lot of people who support me. Meaning that 700,000 people in New Zealand didn't do the census.
Yeah.
And, and 7/7's 49, aren't they? That's our population's 4.9 million. So,
well, there's safety in numbers for you, Bill.
That's right. Well, I haven't had the knock on the door from the Fun Police since I was talking to Bruce the other night. But the fact is that I did warn. I rang up Talkback. I said it's going to be an absolute shambles because people like myself and so on who don't use computers. I did years ago. But my eyes got sore on the small screen, so haven't looked at them for years. Yeah. We want the old-fashioned way of knocks on the door and people coming in because of what they used to call social intercourse with people.
Yeah. Well, I think what I think
knocking on the door and visiting you, and I'll just
I think they've done they've set the digital census cause back years now because people are just It's had so much done the confidence in the system has been rattled by this. So people are going to want to do the old paper way, I think.
That's right, but I'm not bad because I did at least ring them up a couple of times and say, can you send papers out? And they sent a paper out, and I thought someone was coming to visit me, and I did get a note at the front door from a card that somebody had called without phoning me, and they'd be back. And anyway, I said to Bruce, my a 2-year-old or year-old phone book a couple of weeks ago, and there was my census return still in there waiting for someone to pick it up.
So you weren't really that much of a rebel. It's not like you refused to fill it out.
Yeah, I do like sort of surveys, and I did actually work as a social researcher and interview, years ago, and in places like prisons, Chatham Islands, and and other things. But anyway, no time for that.
Okay,
now.
I better wrap it up. Yeah, thanks, Bill. Nice to hear from you.
Okay.
All the best. Bye bye. It's 10.